What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with another episode of the Euro 2021 coverage. My name is Suddy. This is Sham. We'll get straight to it, man. Last 16 delivered again. Czech Republic beating Netherlands after 10 men. Netherlands, Matt De Ligt got a red card. I don't know if you saw the handball. It was just ridiculous. He's kind of fallen down and he's beat his hand of God, pushed the ball away. I mean, look, it was ridiculous. That's beside the point.
Trying to get his bearings, and he's got a Czech player on his back. And he's handballed the ball, but to call it intentional, give him the red card. I think they've decided that it was. I think they decided it was the last defender, but even that is excessively harsh because typically it's more when the attacker's closer to the goal and the defender makes a challenge. That's typically when you say it's a goal scoring chance, not the other way around. The Liga was between the Czech player and the goal. So I saw it and I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, it was incredibly harsh.
I mean, the Dutch started well. They started better. They had a few chances. Memphis had a chance earlier on 1-on-1, which probably should have put away. But look, the Czech Republic have been brilliant. They started off really well against Scotland, and then they've pushed all the way to the quarterfinal. What do you think of the game overall? You wanted to talk a bit about this game before we get into the main part of the video.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked that Netherlands got knocked out. We were talking a bit about them, pushing on and getting further on in the tournament, and that side of the draw is really open because you've got Sweden and Ukraine who play the winner of England, Germany, who play the winner of Czech Republic and Denmark. So you could conceivably see a team like Denmark or Czech Republic make the semi-finals now. That's a quarterfinal matchup, so one of them will make it. The Czech Republic strike me as this very old-fashioned football team. They look like a Premier League team out of the 1990s. Like they work hard, they pass the ball, they play for each other. They just strike me as like this very like a mid-table team from the Premier League. And it's funny when you talk about modern football and all of this tiki-taka and all of this tactics and stuff. They just play good old-fashioned football. It's really engaging to see. It's really great to watch. I think that they just simply took their chances. They hung on better and they took their chances better. I think they just played the big moments better. And I mean, there's no doubt the sending off turned that game because Holland, I don't think they were overwhelming Czech Republic, but they did have the better of it to that point. They did change the game, but you'd think that 55 minutes in, you would have expected the Netherlands to at least score a goal along the way and have a lead or something to hold on to, but they just didn't really take advantage of their chances. There was a great 1-on-1 that the Czech keeper saved as well. Was it a pie that was through? And then the keeper saved it at his feet. Yeah. Like that type of thing can very easily be a penalty, particularly in the modern game where the player goes, and leaves the trailing leg. And then I think he had a double save as well because there was another player following up. So I just think the Czech Republic played better in the bigger moments. And those two teams, Czech Republic and Denmark, could be the best quarterfinal. Just two teams having a massive go. The Denmark is still on a high. I don't like saying that given what's happened with Eriksen, but they've won their last two games, 4-1 and 4-0. So they'll be absolutely up for it. And that could be the most interesting quarterfinal. But we're coming back to I guess England and Germany, which, as we said before, of all the round of 16 games, it's the biggest occasion. It's the two old enemies meeting up again.
Well, let's talk about England and Germany. I mentioned in the last video, it was the first international game that I kind of remember very well. I could tell you moments from that game, and I remember the goal was a long shot. I think Oliver Bierhoff scored that goal against David Seaman. It was the last game at the old Wembley as well. Big game. You're kind of striking, you're kind of flaming the fans of World War II for this game. It's huge. You're talking about a team that's potentially on the way down. It's kind of core players are still an old guard versus an England team that is very, very good on paper. I think perhaps there'll be no England team that'll ever be good enough. But there is something about this team that lacks superstardom the way the times of Beck's, the times that Steven Gerrard did. It lacks the prima donna, kind of prima donna aura. It lacks a bit of arrogance. I like this England team way more than I liked any other England team. Tell me what you think England need to do to win. I want to talk about like specific players, specific styles of play.
I think you raise a very interesting point with this team because if you look at that, say, golden generation 10 years ago, not only were from the big clubs, but they were the most important players at those big clubs, like
Hmm.
Ferdinand, Gerrard, Terry,
Terry,
Cole.
Scholes,
They were
Lampard.
the most important players of those clubs. Whereas you look now, like guys like Luke Shaw's a really good player. Is he the most important player at United? Probably not. John Stones at
Mm.
City? Probably not. You look at guys like Sterling? Probably not. So they've got good footballers, and I think England has evolved from. I was just talking about the Czech Republic being sort of an old school Premier League team. England has evolved from that mentality to coming in line with the rest of Europe, and with that, I think through sort of the youth programs and Southgate, as much as I think he's holding the team back a bit, he does deserve credit for bringing this generation of players into the team.
Hmm.
I think that I think that it's funny with England because you thought, oh, the galaxy of attacking talent was going to be their strength, and they might just struggle defensively. It's been the other way around. There's been a
Hmm.
cohesiveness with the back plays. Even the one who missed Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, has come in and done a good job. They've rotated
Hmm.
the fullback positions, which are a source of strength for that team.
Hmm.
That platform that they've created is a good platform, but the attacking players are not taking advantage of it. And it's
Hmm.
the funny thing is, it might have suited England to have this tournament a year earlier. It might have actually suited them because players like Rashford and Sterling would have been absolute dead certainties a year ago. Rashford's obviously carrying an injury. Sterling's not really at his best. Whereas you look at guys like Mason Mount a year ago would not have been here. Jack Grealish probably, he's only got 8 caps. He probably wouldn't have been here. Um, Foden wouldn't have been here either. So the timing has sort of caught England a bit where those guys are definitely the future. You could see Foden, Grealish, and Mount being that attacking three and taking over Sterling and Rashford, but they're kind of caught
Yeah.
in that transition.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of attacking players who are about the same level. So who do you pick? Um,
Hmm.
I think that the way to take on this Germany team, if they're going to play this 3-4-3, it's kind of like Arsenal's 3-4-3. They got that solidity at the backs. There's more of a three with the wing backs and then two tens behind a striker. But
Yeah.
the attacking players can play wide or play in the middle. Chelsea play a
Hmm.
similar way as well. Um, so I think the way that England have to go about it is probably looking wide. Kane is
Hmm.
not, particularly with Kane up front. England are not going to be able to have Kane take on 3 German centre backs. He's going to drop and then create
Hmm.
opportunities in wider areas. And I think that who England pick in those wide areas, that 4-2-3-1, the wide players in the three, that's going to be where the game is won or lost, taking on the wing backs. Uh, I forget the name of the German left wing back, but he's had a pretty good tournament. Kimmich is not,
Gosens.
he's a good player, but not a typical wing back either. Gosens, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosens. Yeah.
So that I think that battle between those guys with those attacking players and how they link up with the centre backs is going to be very, very important. We made comment before England's last game that it might be guys like Grealish and Sancho who are the best bet because they can attack wide areas, that they can go to the corner flag, but they can also cut in, they can also dribble. They're probably, to me, they seem to be, particularly Grealish, like I said before, he's a talisman. If you put Grealish on Kimmich, that's a battle for the ages. Those two guys are proper
Mm.
footballers. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I just don't see Southgate doing that. I see Southgate playing in that very linear, Sterling on the left cutting in, Foden on the right cutting in type of way, as opposed
Yeah.
to trying to be creative and trying to be different. And I think that that's probably where they'll fall down. Germany will push forward. I don't think they'll play as high a line as they normally do because of Hummels. So that they'll play a semi-high line, and having Neuer behind, Neuer in his prime would come off and clear lines and stuff. He's 35 now, so he's not. Despite the fact that he's possibly the most freakishly athletic goalkeeper I've ever seen, I don't think he's got the ability at 35 to do those things anymore.
Hmm.
So they'll play a semi-high line and try and control possession within England's half. So Phillips and Rice will be set up to try and win the ball and try and launch counterattacks. Phillips's energy versus Tony Cruz's quality is going to be a massive battle. That's one that I'm looking forward to see as well. But
Well,
I think that Germany's going to control and England's going to try and counterpunch.
well, is it Kevin Phillips? Who
Calvin
Phillips
Phillips.
is it? Sorry, Kevin Phillips is a Southampton player. Calvin Phillips, in many ways, is a kind of a pressing style of Cruz. He has that pass in him. He's very cultured, but at the same time, he has the energy of a Leeds player today. Um, the You are right. You are right to say that. I think Germany's going to play not so much of a high line. Gosens and Kimmich are key, but I think overall, man, I think Gareth Southgate is going to be very much paralyzed with let's keep this as simple as possible. You can't look past the fact that it's still Gareth Southgate. We said I was texting this the other day or 2 days ago or something. A person like Wenger takes this side. He wins a World Cup with this side. I just don't think Gareth Southgate has it in him to take the risk. Okay, we'll play Mount Grealish and Foden behind Rashford or behind I don't know someone else because I think Kane has become a bit of a Fernandez style. He's he's hamstrung by how good he is in a sense. Um, he's trying to do too much. He's trying a bit too hard.
Sorry, I interrupted you there. I was going to ask you in your answer because he's had an incredible Premier League season. Didn't he top the charts for goals and assists?
Yeah, double doubles. Yeah.
So why is everyone going he's fallen off a cliff? What do you think has happened to Harry Kane that he's gone from being having such an incredible season to such a poor tournament?
Well, I think uh, let's say most of those goals came under Mourinho. Very few came under no, not very few, but less because it was less games. Came under Harry Winks was not Harry Winks. Mason. Whatever his name is, I can't remember the name right now.
The 29-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jesus. Football manager. He it's because it's a similar thing with Berbatov. You said a point to me years ago, and I've kind of had this idea in my mind of certain players like the free role, which is why Steven Gerrard never did well for England because in Liverpool it was 10 players and Steve, you do whatever you want. It's the same way with Harry Kane. It's very much you do what you want. It's your team. This isn't Harry Kane's team. If you think of England, it's no one person's team. Thank God, it's not the way it used to be. But I think it's just because he's not given the freedom to do exactly what he wants or whenever he wants. It becomes very stifling. He's told to make these very specific runs. He's not given the ball by Sterling and Foden the way he wants it, which is higher up in the air. Hold up play is not something that happens in the English team. I think it's just a very different style of play. It just doesn't suit him. It's still he's still £100 million club player, but just doesn't play well for England, and that's okay, man. Like most players don't play well for England, or they haven't for 55 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's the last player to have an amazing tournament for England arguably was Wayne Rooney in '04, Gaza in '96, sorry, '92, '96. You could the fact that you can pick these players out 10, 12 years apart just goes to show, man, it's a tough go playing for England. Paul Scholes never had a good tournament for England. So coming back to Kane, hasn't fallen off a cliff. It's just hard to play well for England because the structure of the England team just doesn't suit him. Doesn't suit many players. Who do you think's played? Who do you think has been the best player for England so far in the last 3 games overall? Who's playing 7 out of 10?
I thought for the first 2 games it was actually Tyrone Mings, but then he got dropped. So
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips obviously had a good performance against Croatia. Sterling scored twice, but I think he's not been playing that particularly well. It's just been in the right spot. And I did
What do you
like
think of Saka?
I did like Grealish against the last game against was it the Czechs they played in the last game.
Yeah.
You could feel the crowd getting buzzy when he gets the ball.
Yeah.
Like you could that murmur.
Yeah.
People. I rate him highly. There's many people rate him highly. Pep Guardiola was going to pay more for him than any other footballer that he's ever paid for.
What do you think of Saka of the last game?
He played well, but I don't see him being a long-term solution. But he did actually play quite well. He offered something.
He's very young, though. He's very young. He's got 4 tournaments in him. After this, one point I want to bring up one point before we talk a bit more about Germany. I thought Maguire coming back for the last game was a big difference. He's been no. We started at the start of the season when he had the whole Greece gate, and there was something else. He got a red card for England, was it?
He got sent off and they scored from the free kick.
Yeah, exactly. He has become. Look, he's never going to be a John Terry. He's never going to be this inspirational guy. He's going to be more of a. Is John Terry without the leadership? He's a damn good player, man, and he showed how much calmness he brings to the back. If Shaw does play in the left, which I think will happen,
I do think
positive.
He's a leader, but I don't think he's a John Terry level leader or a Tony Adams level leader.
No, God, no.
But he does have leadership in him.
his leading style is more of I play every game. I know it's a weird thing to say, but he's only missed a stretch of games from the point he got injured till the last game. That's the only stretch of games he's missed in about 3 years. So he's a sort of leader where he turns up every week, he gets his injections. Fuck it, I'm playing, I'm playing, I'm playing. And there's not many players better than him in the air. And yeah, look, I think he's going to be huge against someone like Muller, Kai Havertz, those guys coming forward, pressing on him. And he'd be a positive to play next to Luke Shaw because that Luke Shaw Kimmich battle that on the right side, which is whoever plays on the right, so it's probably Kyle Walker versus Gosen. It's gonna be a good battle. Just moving on to Germany. Um, I think it's going to be a big ask for them. They just seem to have mentally dropped off since the World Cup. Have not recovered. I think going back because they dropped Muller and Hummels long term. They told Joachim Low said I'm not gonna ever call them up again, and then calling them up again. It's not a good look. Maybe you think, oh, these are good players, but I think everything is a good look going back on your word. In the same way, you look at France and Benzema. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the paper yesterday, but there's unrest in the French squad already. It's what I said would happen, but apparently this time it's Mbappe. So, do you think Germany could win this game?
I actually expect them to win. I think they
Oh,
just have.
okay,
I actually think they have a bit more quality than England.
okay,
Just a bit more cohesiveness. I just think the England
okay.
team hasn't. The Germany team's come together a little bit better than the England team. Player for player, there's not much difference. I think that
Mm,
you can't look at any sort of one position and say Germany are noticeably better than England, and the same thing vice versa. I
yeah.
just think that Germany will come and play a bit more football, where England, I do think, will switch to a counter style and try and play
Hmm.
behind. That might actually suit someone like Harry Kane, who will come deep and try and
Hmm.
hit balls out wide for players like Rashford or Sterling to run onto. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think that I do tend to sway when it comes to counter versus attacking. I do tend to sway and lean with the team that's controlling the ball. I think Tony Cruz will be massive in this game. I expect a big performance
Hmm.
from him. Kai Havertz as well, being a Chelsea player playing in England at Wembley. I think that it's going to be a big game for him. I think he's the one for me to watch. He's been a bit subdued, but he does produce big moments. And scoring against England will be a big moment.
Score.
1-0 Germany.
All right. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be 2-1 in extra time. It's going to be a
To,
long game. It's going to be a long night.
to who? Or you're not
To
willing?
England, to England, to
England?
England.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think I mean, look, I'm an optimist when it comes to England side. I just think this could be a big moment for them as an FA, as a club. 55 years of rubbish football, with a few good players. I think this could be a big moment.
The
Um,
draw opens up massively after this. So the winner of this game plays the winner of Sweden Ukraine, Spain, so
yeah,
Sweden Ukraine, and then the winner of that plays the winner of the Czechs and Denmark. And you
mm,
win that game, you go to the final. So
yeah,
this game is obviously a massive game. It's a much weaker
yeah,
side of the draw. A lot of very even teams, but overall a weaker side of the draw than the other half. Um,
yeah.
but if whoever wins this game could get, I don't want to say free pass, but a much easier ride to the final than say a Belgium who've had to play Portugal, Italy, and if they get through France. So it's a much easier draw for the winner of this game to potentially make the final.
I will say this before we finish off. If England get Denmark, that's a big problem. That's a bigger problem for me. I think that's a bigger problem than Germany because I think the spirit. I'm big fan of Denmark's spirit at the minute. It's very hard to break momentum in the short term. Very very hard to break
A
momentum.
lot of these
You saw it with
tournaments are won
Iceland.
purely by momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw it with Iceland in the last World Cup, I believe, or last Euro. Sorry. You see it with South Korea back in '02. They had the whole country behind them, and they didn't lose till the final. I mean, on route to that final, 2002, they beat Spain and Italy.
Yeah.
So and this
And,
that was an
and
Italy team
Portugal. Yeah.
and Portugal, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Jesus, yeah, they did.
With Vigo and Rui Costa and those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they lost to a Turkey side, which is like you're wondering how did they lose to Turkey to beat those three. It's just momentum. They lost the momentum in the final against a team they didn't think they needed momentum against. So I just think to kind of cap off, I think Denmark's more of a problem than Germany at the minute for most teams really. Anyway, love you chat as always, Sham. So don't forget to catch England and Germany tomorrow night. Well, sorry, Tuesday night. Um, all good, Sham.
All good, all good. Yeah, this
We'll
one.
finish off here.
Yeah, I like I said in the last video, I hope that one of these games just breaks open and be genuinely exciting because it does feel like it's going to get very nervy. So
Yeah,
maybe the cream rises to the top. Maybe someone like Kimmich or Cruz produces a magic moment. Maybe someone like Sancho, Grealish, or Sterling produces a magic moment. You know,
yeah,
that's as much as these games are nervy and enthralling. You do want to see those moments of quality in these high pressure situations. So hopefully,
yeah.
someone gives us something that we can go, wow. You know.
Absolutely. All right, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. We're the Fabia Pass podcast. My name is Suddy. This is Sham. Keep football simple, and as always,
Keep passing, guys. Cheers.
I'm on fire.